نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So we're going through those things which are makruh in Salah. So we'll go to the page number 87 inshallah, and we'll briefly go through them. So I want to cover a few pages today. So it says to gather one's clothes, to gather one's garment close to the body before going into prostration. So sometimes when people go into sajda and they put the trousers up like that, or they fix it to something with the clothes to go down. To do that, it's considered makruh to do that in the salah, because it's unnecessary to do that. And so that's why it means therefore by number 11, to gather one's garments close to the body before going to prostration. So people just put the clothes up or pull them tight when they're going down to sajda or ruku. And in the footnote they mentioned that this is makruh tahrimi, close to haram. Why? Because it resembles arrogance. Some people do it the way it obviously depends on how you've done it. Sometimes you might be doing it because you wore the wrong trousers, they're quite tight, and then you can't go down to sajda properly. Right? So it boils back down to what I said previously, that when you're going shopping firstly, buy those things that you can read your namaz in the first place. And if you have and you're wearing certain clothes, then when you wear your clothes, know that you can pray salah comfortably in those clothes. If you're going to be out and about, if you're at home, for example, it's easy to get changed, wear something else. But if you know you're traveling somewhere, you're going out, you might need to pray at someone else's house, for example. In those scenarios, you need to be prepared beforehand for the scenario that you might possibly face. Like sometimes you go to someone's house and you know that it's going to be Salat al-Maghrib time when you're at the house, you don't know wuzu, and then like, can I go to your toilet? It gets a bit awkward, right? So you best be prepared beforehand. So same with your clothes, when you're going to pray in certain clothes, then you should wear those clothes which are appropriate, which won't cause you discomfort during the prayer. Then it says to place a shawl on one's head or shoulders, letting the ends hang down. So it's makruh to, this is considered that when you have like a scarf hanging over your shoulders, so the both ends are hanging, dangling, is makruh to pray namaz like that. And so hence, even if you're wearing a parda, for example, those Arab style ones, if you're wearing a parda, you shouldn't leave it dangling. That's why you see imam, they might throw it over the shoulder one side, or they might tie the bottom up into a round knot. So it becomes a hoop instead of the two ends dangling. So wearing clothes that the ends dangle over your shoulders or over your head, it's also makruh as well. And then here they've also touched upon is wearing clothes in the way that they shouldn't be worn. Sometimes people put the jacket over their shoulders. They haven't put their arms in, but they just throw it over themselves. Or they just put the hood on and the rest of the jacket, they're not wearing it really. Right? So wearing clothes that the way they shouldn't be worn, that is also considered makruh as well. So that's what he mentions here. He said this includes wearing a garment in a manner not customarily worn, such as a coat or a jacket on one's shoulders alone, without placing the arms in the sleeves. It is deemed prohibited with this light. There is no difference between a garment being secure from falling down or not. So there's no difference like thinking, oh, I'm just going to go on the floor or not. Shouldn't be wearing it in a way that it shouldn't be worn. This ruling would include a scarf around one's neck with its ends hanging down. Hence, one should take it off before the prayer. Either you take the scarf off, if you're not going to take it off, at least tie the ends up in like a round hoop, and so it's not makruh. Next, number 3, they mentioned to close one's eyes. To close one's eyes and pray salah is mainly because what would happen is that you might not realize the direction of the qibla. But sometimes some people find it more better to close their eyes. For example, they can concentrate more. There might be something going on around them that's distracting them. So in that case, that is better for a person to close his eyes. But he still should open them when he's going down for ruku, getting up, Because if your eyes are closed, you're going down the pool, sajda. By the time you get up, sometimes because you get up like unbalanced, you might end up be facing the other way. So you might end up turning away from the Qibla, and then if your eyes are fully closed. So hence, but when you're standing up, for example, you're doing your tilawat, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen, if you close your eyes and it helps you to concentrate better, then it won't be makruh. You can do that. So, but generally just closing your eyes and praying namaz, it shouldn't be done. And then we spoke about yawning as well, and I spoke about that in detail last lesson. The next, so you shouldn't yawn in salah or outside of salah. If you do, you cover your mouth or try to keep your mouth as closed as possible. Right? To stretch one's arms, exposing one's chest. So to just generally stretching it in namaz. Generally to stretch in namaz. Sometimes what people do is when they're standing up, they go on the tiptoes. Yeah, and I've seen lots of youngsters do this. They're in their namaz, they go on the tiptoes just to stretch their legs out. That is makruh to do that. So you should only doing your stretches in your salah. To cover one's nose and mouth, except when yawning. So generally, to keep your face covered in salah, it shouldn't be done. This is like when this ruling came about, which we all were exposed to was during COVID, when people wore face masks. Then the ulama had this discussion: would it be makruh for them to wear a face mask while praying? So obviously it wasn't makruh because of the COVID and all that. But generally, out of COVID or out of any illnesses spreading, covering your face is makruh in salah. So people sometimes wear a scarf around and they cover their face and pray. That shouldn't be the case. Your face should be exposed. And during the salah, this is. Then we mentioned to prostrate with the forehead covered. So the forehead, the skin should touch the surface you're doing sajda. And sometimes people wear the topi like this, the hat like this, and they do sajda on the hat. That's makruh to do that. Or if you're wearing like a scarf over your head, and when you go down, the scarf goes down first and the head goes on the scarf, that's makruh. Or wearing an imama, a turban, and then you have your turban tied low. Sometimes you see people, they have the turban tied low like this. Right? So it will also be makruh for that person to do sajda. So generally, what I tell the youngsters in class is your forehead, no hair, no hat. And so keep your hair, forehead empty. So don't keep it covered with your hair or with your hat generally. So the sunnah or adab would be to wear the hat with your forehead fully empty, exposed. To do sajda on a picture. So this will be makruh tahrim, to do sajda on anything which is considered as living.
Ustadi, sometimes we have some masalleh that have like pictures and like Hana Kaaba Sharif, ya Medina Sharif, ya any type of masjid or some kind of design or something. What about that? What do you feel about that?
According to my teachers, it should be avoided to get those masalleh with the Kaaba and stuff. Right? Because people end up walking over it sometimes, and black or other towards the Gumbad, the green dome of the Prophet ﷺ mosque. So those kind of musalleh, they should be avoided. Generally, that is the. But another thing that I thought you were going to mention, which is, I thought that's what you're going to say. Sometimes these musalleh, they're designed by non-Muslims, and if you carefully look at them, there's faces on those musalleh. The designs on the, it might just seem like flowers and stuff. If you actually look at it, it's going to be a picture of something, right? But they just blended it, made it look like it's a flower or it's just a pattern. But if you actually look at it, it's like a scorpion, like any kind of creature. But you can literally just see the creature there, right? So sometimes they do this in the designing of musalleh because obviously it's something commercialized. They're going to make money from it as well. So when you go out buying musalleh, then you keep these things in mind.
So should it just be best to just get like a simple one color?
Yeah, so musalla doesn't have to be like, the purpose of a musalla is, like we've done in the conditions of namaz, what was it? Make sure the body, place and clothes are clean, right? So that comes under the place. i.e. when you put the musalla out, you know 100% this is clean. Because you normally fold it, put it away, put it in a nice place. So we know that the place I'm reading namaz on, that is 100% clean. Because in the front room, for example, if you're got a habit of wearing shoes, for example, right, and there's carpet there, and you have a habit of wearing shoes, now you might have a cat or something like that, you might think it might be impure, put the musalla out. So in homes where, for example, no shoes are worn, the carpet's clean, there's no pets, there's nothing, and you're 100%, you got the conviction that this is clean. The only thing that goes in there is dust. You can pray without musalla. And the purpose of the musalla is to guarantee yourself that the place of prayer is clean. Hence, and obviously it puts you in the zone of praying salah as well, especially if you have youngsters at home, children at home, they're seeing you going out your way, preparing for the salah. So obviously there's loads of wisdom behind having a musalla. But even if you didn't use it, like sometimes, I haven't used the musalla and I've been told off by my grandma that you should use musalla. Occasionally namaz padne without musalla. But technically namaz still happens, but because they consider it that you're not in the mindset of salah, you not have got the adab for the namaz, that you never put the musalla down, you just being lazy. All these factors come in place as well. So obviously the more you prepare, the more adab and more guarantee that you have that your musalla is cleaner than your carpet. Even though you're convinced that your carpet is clean, but you know your musalla is more clean, then you put your musalla down for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says to do sajda on a picture, anything which is considered like an animal, anything which is living, that is makruh to pray salah on that item. Even facing your, for example, there's a picture in the room now. If the picture is in front of you, is makruh to pray facing that picture. You are sinful for reading namaz like that. If it's on your side, it's also makruh. If it's above you, the only place where it's considered that your namaz still happens without the major makruh would be if it's behind your back, because there's no sign of you showing kind of respect to it, or if it's under your feet, right? But other than that, it's considered makruh. So generally, it's become a bit of a trend now as well that people put pictures in their homes, and especially when the son's had a degree or something, they have to blast it on the wall. Yeah, but generally, it's the hadith mentions that the angels don't enter a house in which there's pictures or there's a dog. That's why we normally hear the dog one that you shouldn't have a dog, keep the dog outside, don't bring the dog inside. You should only have a dog for spiritual reasons. Muslims should not own dogs. This is the reason they say why, because the hadith says that the angels don't enter the house in which there's pictures or a dog.
Is it allowed if there's a picture in a cupboard?
Yeah, so if the picture is covered and put away, that's fine. And we allow those pictures generally, right? Like for example, someone might have a photo album of a wedding. Those kind of pictures are allowed as long as they're stored away. But having them displayed around your house, that is a form of losing barakah in your house. And then you have some people saying that your sheikh pictures are allowed, but other pictures are not allowed. But the stance is that every human being's picture shouldn't be allowed generally. Even though there's people say this and that, but the proper stance should be that it should be avoided. The hadith says that the angels don't enter the house. So especially, if you pray namaz in a certain room, don't have it there. If you have children in your house and you want barakah, you want angels to be blessed around them, then there's no need to put pictures around the house of them. The children are there live, right? So you don't need the pictures. You can keep them on your phones, on your Snapchat and Instagram, inshallah. Yeah? With the filters on. That reminds me of something someone gave those marriage things when they send the photos. And a sister, she sent a picture to a marriage place, proper filtered up. And then when the other woman who runs the marriage thing, right, she called her and she said, "Look, I need to see you because there's someone interested in your profile." And when the lady came, she said to her, "Where is she?" She said, "I'm there." Yeah, so don't deceive people. Some people do this on social media. So It just came to mind about the filter and the word. Yeah, so some people do that. Give you real pictures. Yeah. So then, so doing sajda on a picture is not allowed. So avoid praying salah. Even if you, for example, you have a picture, sometimes you have it on your like a table or drawer, and you're gonna pray salah there. Just put it down, face down, pray your salah. They pick you up. If you sometimes it's not you don't run the show in the house. Yeah, so unfortunately the picture has to be there. Then when you go to pray, you've seen it, just put it down and then pick it back up after you're done. And then inshallah there shouldn't be any qira'a, wouldn't be makruh like that. To pray on the road, lavatory or graveyard. So to pray, obviously these are common sense. Praying on the road would be in the actually ways people are using and passing by, in terms of where you could be harmed or dangered or putting other people's life at danger, right? Second would be in the lavatory, in the bathroom is impure, you shouldn't be praying salah there. And third, in the graveyard, you shouldn't be praying your salah there. Those are straightforward. Just in terms of playing on the road, the reason for the road one is because obviously the issue you're going to cause, right? That same applies for on a train or something like that, because the only place to pray on a train would be on the walkways basically. So if you're praying your salah on a walkway, then you're causing some health and safety issues. And so you have to really be wise and use your akal when you're praying salah as well. Instead of giving people dawah to Islam, saying that look, these Muslims, they worship Allah no matter what, whatever situation they're in, wherever they are. If it's time to pray, they pray and they thank the Lord. Instead of that, what's going to happen is be like, look at this guy, doesn't have any decency that people are walking here. What kind of religion is this that they're putting people's life in danger just to worship the God? Someone could be put off from Islam as well. So obviously we have to use our hikmah and wisdom when we apply rulings as well. To pray near filth, that's straightforward. To pray on stolen property, in stolen clothes, for example, or after having made wudu from stolen water. So all these things would be makruh. So generally, obviously, if you rob something and then you're praying salah in that robbed property, or you've taken someone's, and stealing here, right? If you look at it from a broader perspective, it doesn't have to be that you stole it. For example, me and Qasim is chilling, and his coat's over there. I need to pray my salah. I grab his coat and read my namaz on his coat. He could be offended. I might think, oh, it's okay, one of my boys. No, I should seek his permission. Now me taking it and reading namaz on his coat, or his cloak or whatever it is, right? And he could be offended that why did you put my property on the floor? Should have put your own coat, right? I need to wear that. Now you made it impure, you put it on the dirty floor. So that would be considered in a way that you took it without permission, so it's the same as stealing. Yeah, so you have to be wise as well when you apply, when you're doing certain things. And so take people's ijazat as well before using something. Because broadly speaking, it could be under the category of stealing. Yeah. Number 22, to pray while having the urge to go to the toilet. That is straightforward. That same is either you're going to relieve yourself, or if you need to pass gas. Sometimes people think, my wuzu is about to break, jaldi padhi na namaz, let's quickly read, right? That is makruh to do that. Yeah? So you shouldn't be, you go to the toilet, you do your business, and then you pray your salah. To pray in work clothes, and obviously here, it depends on your work clothes, what scenario you're in, what situation you're in. Sometimes we're on a break from work and we only have 10-15 minutes, we read our namaz, you have no choice. Here it really means that when you can change your clothes, when you have the option to change, you've got the time to change, and all the variables are there, but you still pray in those clothes. And generally work clothes, what will happen to them? They'll either be dirty, they'll have something on them, they'll be messy, they won't be presentable clothes in that sense. But if you work in an office and you've got smart work clothes on, then you won't fall under this category of that. Yeah, so because your clothes are qualified anyway. Yeah, so that's what we mentioned in the footnotes. Number 24, to pray in a garment on which there is a picture. So this is, we're talking about the clothes now. First you have to pray on top of the picture, like the Musalla had a picture or stuff like that, right? Now you to pray in clothes that have pictures. So now if you look at the footnote, it says here, as it resembles carrying an idol, and as such it deemed makruh tahrimi, to pray in a clothes which have picture, i.e. of a living thing. Right? It has to be the item or the picture, whatever it is, that thing could be considered as living. So if it doesn't have the key organs, like for example, it might be a picture of a dinosaur without the head. Can the dinosaur survive without a head? No, it can't. So hence, that won't be makruh. Even though full well we know it's a picture of a certain item or animal or whatever it is, but something key is missing like the head, then obviously that won't be considered. Same with, I think it's called a silhouette or something. Just when there's an outline of a certain animal, again like a puma for example, right? The puma trucks, they normally have that puma on there. That won't be considered the makruh in that sense, right? Because there's no sign. Like for example, someone spilled paint on their clothes. It might look like a puma shape, right? It might look like a dog shape. But just because the outline is there now, but it could be something legit, like it could be anything, right? So that doesn't count because there's no eyes, no mouths, no shapes on there. But still at the same time, we should avoid it as well. It doesn't mean that it's fine, I can read namaz like this. This goes back to the same point, that when you go shopping, then you check all these things when you're buying your clothes.
Does it have to be only on the front surface? You know, like for example, here I've got, this is obviously a jubbah, but some people have it on the label.
Like they have a logo of a Lacoste or...
Like a Lacoste or like a, I don't know what is it, crocodile or whatever it is. Does it have to be then, can you just take it off, or what do you do in that circumstance?
If it's ready on there. Like if you wear a jacket on top and that's on the bottom layer, that's fine. As long as it's covered. But if that's the outer one, then that's considered makruh. So if it's in front of you, then it's makruh. If it's on the back of you, and now it's makruh because the people behind you are praying. Yeah, so it's distraction for, sometimes people have the designer, you know,
Versace or something.
Versace and I don't know, these designer brands, right? That they have these Ed Hardy and all that, I don't know, they have those lions and all that on them. Then those ones will be makruh.
Mom, what about pictures of like cartoons and stuff that people have, like Mickey Mouse or something?
Anything that's considered living, it's not allowed.
Even if it's like a made up cartoon?
Yeah, anything is made up. As long as you know it's something that's considered living in that aspect, right? So that'll be like, even like, you know, animals, Mickey Mouse, whatever it is, and that all the cartoons, or none of that would be allowed. Right? Like for example, it's a lion's face, is a any other Scooby-Doo, yeah? Whatever it is, it won't be allowed. So those things won't be allowed. I watched cartoons for years, so I don't know. If you look at I'll come next to that. This was what I mentioned before, praying in the presence of a picture, like in a room, right? So if you look at footnote 284, it says, this is the most disliked, the pictures in front of him, i.e. between him and the Qibla. So if you're in a bedroom, for example, the pictures on the wall in front of you. That's the most disliked. Followed by when above his head. So then above the head is second, then followed by the right side or the left side, so basically the sides. In all these cases is makruh tahrimi. So like I mentioned before, if it's in front of you, above you, right and left. In those cases, the picture will be makruh. So in a bedroom, for example, if the picture's on that wall, in front of you or above you, like some people have patterns in the ceilings, for example, right? Then that will be the highest level of makruh. Then he mentions here that and lastly behind him, in which case it's still makruh if it's behind you, right? But that's the lower makruh, you could say. It's not just like in any case, however, if the picture is small to the extent. Small here, they're talking about, if you're standing up and there's like a 5p coin, for example, on the floor, and you're barely going to see the picture on the 5p coin. Yeah? So that much is excused. Right? So if you were to be standing up and it was on the ground and you look down and you just about can see any picture on there, then 5p coin might be slightly bit big. But if something smaller than that, even, that you think that you can't really tell, that's what's excused or overlooked. Right? And they also mentioned here, what's also excused if it's covered, like I mentioned before, like you mentioned, if you put it in the drawer, or if it's, just turn it upside down like a frame or something like that. And then it says, if there's a main limb that's missing, that with which the item or the thing can't stay alive, right? Or if the picture is of an object like a tree and stuff like that, that's not living, that's fine as well. Yeah, so all those are fine. So the only one will be makruh if it's a living animal that a person looking at it knows that it's living. Right? Like you mentioned, like it could be a mouse, or could be an animal, could be a person. All those will be automatically considered makruh if it's in front of you, above you, or on your sides. And also behind you, that's the minor makruh. So in generally, overall, if it's in the room, avoid praying in that room. Right? And this is the habit, this is where you build the tarbiyah of children, where people overlook. These are the things that count. And when you're nourishing and doing the tarbiyah of our children, you say, okay, you can't do this because of this. Now, for example, you're refurbishing your house, like I mentioned about wudu, can't face. Yeah? So when you fix the bathroom, for example, you tell the children, okay, it's sunnah to face away from the qibla, right? Don't face your face or back towards the qibla when you use the toilet. So we're going to put the toilet here for this reason. So even when you're refurbishing the house, you instill in your children that even in these basics, we prepare for the salah, for the sunnah, all these things in mind. So saying, like for example, the elders would, and we're told that we shouldn't face our feet towards the qibla. And certain houses, the families will be like, don't put you can't put our sofa there, even though it looks nicer there, because our feet or our beds. Why? Because the feet will go towards the qibla. Right? That adab should always be maintained. Even though if someone does it out of not knowing, it's not gonna. But the adab will be lost, the spirituality will be lost. So to instill that in your children, you do this in all these young things, right? In everything you adopt. I remember when I went Umrah first time, and obviously you be on a spiritual vibe, you can't face your feet towards the Qibla. And the hotel we went to, the Haram Sharif, the Kaaba Sharif was in front of us, and our beds, the feet were facing the Qibla inside the hotel. Right? Even like these things are commercialized and they're overlooked, but a bit of haya, you shouldn't do that. So I remember first time I went with my teacher and we slept the other way on the beds. We put our bed the other way and then we slept head towards our feet. Right? So I think and this is how you build that general etiquette and spirituality when you do this. So it all starts from the foundation where we overlook. So even in the house, when the children want a picture up, say, I know the picture's nice, you look cute, mashallah, but we can't have the picture on there because if the angels don't come to the house, the barakah is lost. That's why most people complain about, there's no barakat in our house, no blessings, we're always having issues in our home. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, enter your house, read Bismillah, the shaitan won't enter with you. When you eat, read Bismillah, the shaitan won't eat with you. Houses with pictures in them, angels won't enter them. We're doing everything the opposite, and then we say, oh, barakat koni, we're having issues and problems. The problem is lack of applying the sunnah basically. And so, if you keep all these things in mind, inshallah, Allah will make more ease for us, inshallah. Another one they mentioned is, which I skipped, was 26, to pray when food is being served. Right? Otherwise, that's what normally happens in Ramadan, for example. We open our fast, have 1, 2 kajurs, have 1, 2 samosa pakore, and then we read our namaz, right? The reason why that's done, even in mosques that's done, is because makruh to pray salah whilst food is being served. Because in the salah, instead of thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to be thinking about the biryani that's on the table, the roti, that thought. So you eat enough that you won't be distracted in your prayer. Then you pray your salah. Right? So that's something to keep in mind as well. The next thing mentioned here is number 28. To pray around that which would distract the person. So generally, like for example, there's a TV on in the room, or anything that you know is distracting you, to pray in the presence of that. But not when you have the option to go pray somewhere else, then you should go pray somewhere else. To pray in congregation while standing alone in a saf. So this is like talking about the masjid. For example, you're praying with Jamaat and the lines are full. You walked in, the line's full, and now you have to make a new line. The proper way is you tap the guy in front of you and he should step back. Yeah, so you make your second line, you tap the person in front of you, and then he moonwalks back, right? And then he joins you. You can't lift your feet, that's why I said moonwalks. And so he moves back and then he joins you in the second saf, right? And this one should happen. I remember the two stories happened on this one. One, the guy is praying salah and he read this masala that if you tap the person, he walks back. So he's gone there, he grabbed the guy from the shoulder, pulled it back. He's like, what you did? You broke my namaz. Yeah? So don't be harsh. You tap the person, you start praying, don't start dragging them. Right? That's what one occasion was. One was he tapped him and then he's like, he doesn't know. Let's tap him again. He tapped him about 10 times, that guy stayed there. So he started on his own praying after namaz. He's like, why were you tapping me, bro? Focus on namaz, don't mess around with me next time. Because the person didn't know the rule. So you just, if the person knows it, you realize the first time. So you go there, you tap the person, and you just stand there. For example, the person standing here, you tap him, and then you just stand there and make your start in namaz, and he should have the knowledge to move back. If he doesn't, then tough luck. Right? But you've done your job though, right? But another thing is before the jamaating starts, like it happens to me here, for example. As an imam, if I realize there's one person there, I always say to the person on the front, one of you, can you join him at the back? This has to be done. So before the imam starts, he should basically make sure the lines are sorted out. And then the 2 people minimum should be in the second, or any row, and there should be a minimum of 2 people. They said to pray in front of a furnace or ember, i.e. to pray in front of fire, similar to fire worship, that's what makruh. To pray in front of people who are sleeping, and then that shouldn't be done as well. And let's see. So normally here, obviously when a person is sleeping, they might sleep in a funny way, they might pass away. Anything ajeeb or strange could happen, right? And you're trying to focus on namaz, and that person's making you laugh while they're sleeping, right? Or they're snoring away. Then instead of focusing on your salah, you're getting distracted. That's why it's makruh. To wipe dirt or sweat on one's face, that does not distract him. Like remember I mentioned that when you go into sajda, for example, and there's something on the floor, you can move it away. But if it's not causing you any issues or any distraction, then to mess around and move the dirt and stuff like that, that would be considered makruh to do that. And so that shouldn't be done. Inshallah, we'll stop here for this time. Inshallah, we'll keep it a bit brief. We'll start on page 89 next time. It's good to get into a habit of reading. I don't know if you might do it. It's a good reminder that read the next few pages before the lesson. What normally happens is one of the methods or styles of studying is that when you come to the lesson and the teacher just throws all the rules at you, now you can't digest all of the information. So if you read it, even if you get like 5%, now you got 95 to focus on. But if you walk into the lesson and you don't know what's coming, then you got all 100% you need to try to keep in mind. So one of the good methods is that you, before the lesson, you read the lesson. If it's easy, you might understand 70%, 80%, 90%, and then the teacher will add the extra bits and bobs you didn't understand or add to the rulings, the things that are not mentioned in the book. But if you obviously don't go over it, then you have to do the full homework or full work in the class, which gets a bit hard. And so try to go over it a bit beforehand as well. Even if you read 1 or 2 pages, even if you understand 1%, it's better than not knowing anything at all before you come to the class or what you expect and the lesson, inshallah. Any questions on this? آمين اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا صلى الله تعالى على حبيبه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم